just you mentioning that point got my mind thinking. Like, are we getting closer and closer to the Matrix?
Like, crypto has a very, very short attention span for everything.
I just want to say that what some things negative on the InfoFiles is I think everyone is becoming a walking billboard.
So I was personally in Kaito jail for a while.
I think the future of identity is just gonna explode.
For you in your digital soul, you're the main that you're in control. Welcome to the identity crisis.
Okay, let's start it. Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, wherever you guys are calling from. Welcome to the very first episode of the For You podcast, titled Identity Crisis in Web3, Doxxed, Fragmented, and Frensless. This show is a show where we try to fix what, or at least we discuss and kind of discuss what needs to be done in order to fix what Web3 has broke, which is this digital selves. Tonight, I have with us very distinguished guests and good friends, and also co-hosts of the For You podcast. We have Orfil Kaze. Say hi. Orfil Kaze is growth manager at For You, and he will be the co-host for tonight's session. So first and foremost, welcome to everyone. It will be a free and easy kind of discussion. There will be opportunities for members of the audience to raise your hands, introduce what you are currently building, who you are, just to get some airtime. Feel free to drop, your comments, questions, thoughts, and insights inside the group chat. We're using Discord because we all know that Twitter has a lot of issues when it comes to Twitter space. Nothing too formal. Just take note that everything will be recorded, and we'll pick up the nice bits and pieces to upload to our social media at the end of the week. So sit back and enjoy. Today, as our first podcast, of course, we're diving into a big one, identity. And let's be real, Web3 has given us freedom, but also chaos. You've probably got more wallets than you have socks, and don't even get me started on your usernames. We're really diving into something that many Web3 natives feel but rarely talk about, which is the problem statement of how do you navigate this, digital space. With us today, we have two very distinguished guests. Firstly, we have Aleksa, Head of Operations, Ecosystem and Legal at Somnia. I'll let Aleksa introduce a bit more about Somnia in a bit. Aleksa has a strong background in Web3 operations, spent the last few years driving DAO governance, legal infrastructure, and ecosystem growth across DUI/DUX, Ops, SubDAO, Talent Layer, and Immutable Research DAO. Her work spans everything from scaling developer engagement in emerging markets to building robust frameworks for on-chain coordination, making her a true force in shaping the future of decentralized ecosystems.
Let's go.
Welcome. Hey, welcome, Aleksa. You wanna say hi? Maybe share with us a little bit about Somnia, of course, and also what got you into crypto.
So I don't know what was the last thing you heard frequent. I came to Web3 through the DAO. My beginnings are in DAO, in DAO governance, DAO compliance, DAO legal. I was involved in a number of projects in different roles, and I joined Somnia last year as of operations and governance. Even though currently I'm more on the operations and ecosystem, and what I'm currently working on is basically I manage all operations, business operations, processes, finance, legal, Somnia, and when it comes to the ecosystem, I basically manage relationships with our ecosystem projects, partners, and I also lead the overall community.
Tell us also a bit more about Somnia.
When people ask me this question, I just love to quote called because it's such a good one-liner. We are freaking fast and cheap blockchain. And what really sets us apart from other chains is that they're able to process 1 million transactions in a second to very, very low fees. We are currently in the testing phase as of February 20th. And in the past 2 to 3 months, our ecosystem grew up to actually over 75 projects now, and our community has grown immensely in the past months, and we are less than 9 million transactions away from 1 billion transactions on testnet. So we are experiencing, to be honest, like a very quick growth, a very exciting growth, and we have a lot of interesting community and activations. Our current go-to-market is gaming. We have partnered up with a Web3 publisher called Uprising and launched Dream Catalyst Accelerator, which is a game review accelerator. So far, we have around 9 titles that got published, and we have some big title dropping tomorrow, actually, and we have some exciting news coming next week. And we'll be growing a lot of our overall gaming ecosystem and tech.
Awesome. Thanks, Aleksa. We'll definitely have a lot of questions later. Hope to hear your stories, your insights, and your experiences to share across to our community so that we all could learn along and perhaps see what our community could also potentially build on Somnia as well. So for our next introduction, okay, Classy, you can go ahead.
Yeah, thank you for sharing, Aleksa. This was a really nice introduction. I love it. I think the audience also love it. I think the next one will be Stefan. Stefan Pick are the managing partner of Amagi, Web3 research and advisor firm. He's also co-author of Lesson Learned, the story of crypto winners and losers. With past experience leading research at Binance and working in traditional finance at BlackRock and Capital, Stefan brings a short, well-rounded view of digital asset space with
Yeah, I mean, thanks for the introduction.
Yeah.
Thanks for the introduction. With Amagi, we're essentially building an all-in advisory firm, helping projects from everything from tokenomics design to point system design, go-to-market, everything that kind of touches like the Web3 side, the side where maybe token governance, token economy comes into play, and working with projects from early on to help design that. We work with games like Evolving Games and ZK Candy on the in-game designs. We work with projects like For You, Bloom, and Radio on everything from taking the project from 0 to 1.
Awesome. Thank you for the introduction, Amagi. I think I just want to ask a fun fact question. Since we are in Somnia, what do you think about Somnia, Stefan? Could you give some takes on that?
I first came in introduction to Somnia actually through Kai. I haven't heard about it before. When I looked into it, I think it's quite interesting. There's a lot of potential with Somnia, right? There's a lot of projects building on it. Like mentioned, the architecture is quite interesting. But I think we reach a point as well where there's so many infrastructure plays, layer 1s, layer 2s, that it's very hard these days also to differentiate itself. So I think for me, really just keen to like keep having an eye on them and see the growth and the projects they're onboarding, because that will probably make or break the next few years. But so far, I think they're set up for a good trajectory and successful growth.
Awesome.
Stefan, this is Aleksa. Hopefully, you guys can have more discussions too as well.
Yeah, I think we should go to the community spotlight spec segment, right? And then a time for meeting, we'll open up for the floor and one or two committee guests to introduce themselves and share what you guys are building or what you're looking for. And this is your chance to take the stage. If you're doing something cool in Web3, raise your hand or drop it in the chat and we'll bring up to you. Yeah. Do you guys have
Okay.
any specific question or do you want to ask for Stefan and Aleksa?
Yeah, maybe we can leave the questions. Oh, we can't raise hands. Oh, that's...
We can't raise hand.
Okay. Maybe, Sadie, help to pick some of you guys, just to give
Yeah.
them the spotlight, introduce who you are, what you're building it, and what do you kind of expect from today's session.
Hey everyone, how you doing, guys? Can you hear my voice?
Yes,
Yeah,
yes.
can hear you well.
Yeah.
Okay, so yeah, my name is Trophy. I'm a content creator, and I've been building on Somnia for quite some time. I also make videos on gaming. I'm really interested in gaming because that was the very first thing that made me put my interest in Somnia. I started playing games with Uprising Labs, and that was how I got involved. I'm actually not building anything like product-wise, but I'm supporting the project and ecosystem on Somnia.
Cool. Any cool videos or contents? How do we look at what you have created so far, Trophy?
Yeah, so I do like weekly recaps on everything that's happening on Somnia, from product updates to gaming updates. So let's say, a lot of things are happening in the ecosystem. So I try to filter the ones that actually makes like really interesting. So I compile them every week. I release them every Fridays and Mondays. I have one pinned on my page. My Twitter is linked to my Discord right here. You could check it out yourself.
Cool. All right. Thanks, Trophy. Thank you.
Check out
Alright,
on
okay.
Trophy's project, by the way, guys. Okay. Anyone want to highlight a spotlight for you guys?
I'll just add
Let's see.
that Trophy will start hosting game nights
Mhm.
at Somnia's Discord. So if anyone wants to play games, we have some really organic community games. And we'll be launching some Uprising and DCA titles, and we'll have game events, and some of that will be hosted by Trophy.
Awesome.
Awesome. We are very happy to see you join us today, Trophy. Anyone?
Chiomzi. Did I pronounce that right?
TMZ?
Oh no, I thought I saw a hand, but it was just a green heart next to the name. But it's okay, we can always circle back. Anyone who wants to just give a shout out to who you are, what you're currently building, just raise your hand and we'll put you up on stage. So yeah.
Let's go for the
move
next
on
stage,
to,
Kai, I think.
First part of today's session. So, today we are exposed to the shocking truth that we don't really own our digital identity. And there's a lot of vulnerabilities as to what, the current infrastructure has. I don't know if you have heard this crazy story where Malone Lam, a Singaporean, just like myself, ran away with a $230 million heist, but was arrested. The issue of identity has always been something that has risen up across the past few years, even more so now as we become more and more, I would say, digital native, right? So this podcast is a podcast where we want to explore what it means to exist in today's hyper digital world, from AI to Web3, from digital footprints to avatars, and how it is to truly be yourself in a world that constantly tries to steal from your identity. In Web2, our identity is secured. We've got dozens of logins, Gmail, Facebook, Instagram, Twitter, and many platforms collecting data from us, monetizing every click. Every time we swap our credit card, data is collected. We are the product, and the only thing that we own is probably the password that we already forgot. But the thing now is, Web3 has the potential to flip that, whereby our wallet becomes our passport. Our string of characters now connects to apps, games, especially Insomnia, assets, and even governance. No longer, just clicking on cookies, accepting it. But here's the catch. Now that your wallet is your identity, you lose it and you're locked out of everything. Your assets, history, reputation, even your digital friends. I personally have lost access to a wallet that contains Pudgy. So RIP Pudgy. But yeah, the next question goes out to our guests, and it's surrounding the identity crisis. Maybe Aleksa or Stefan, you guys are key personnel in your own projects. Maybe to Aleksa, from an L1 ecosystem perspective, you guys are going to market, you guys are building communities. What does identity look like to you guys? How do you guys differentiate between all the noise that is out there from users that really come in that to Somnia is something that you consider as a valuable user, a valuable asset?
I personally think that identity in ecosystem is very important. Of course, like not identity in the traditional sense, since as we use that. Ecosystem by default is an open environment, and of course, like having two roads environment is not good just yet. It's not very sustainable long term. But what it matters is that anyone can find their own place in the ecosystem, find their own communities, whether that's with the developers, with the creators, with the gamers, which for example is a very big focus for us. And as an ecosystem, we are working towards building and strengthening different personas within our community. And as an ecosystem, we think that's important of course, like it's a Web3 space is growing. You always have, you always have a bunch of farmers who have a bunch of airdrop hunters. You have, people who contribute who contribute extensively to the ecosystem. And looking long term, you also want to think about what you want to do in terms of governance and whether you're planning towards a progressive centralization. And that's something that you really need to think a lot throughout, because when you're building that initial community, you're building an ecosystem, you're building it for the future, and the groundwork you lay at that point is something that is really, really important. And how we are looking at currently in Somnia, we have very strong community of content creators in general, whether it's art or written content. And on the other side, our developer community has grown a lot, and we have a lot of gamers as well, like more and more every day. And those different communities are looking for different things in the ecosystem. Of course, like there are some touch points, but there is also a very important factor of individual groups and individual people. And what we're looking to do is to build a home for those communities where they can interact with each other, but also grow within. And from the identity perspective is really, separating farmers from developers, long-term contributors from just kind of like, some drops and it goes, because of course that's something that will affect the governance and how we build that layer to govern decentralized governance over time. So identity for us is a very important point. Again, like not in a very traditional aspect, but in a traditional way, but rather building out different persona, giving them space, their own ID within the community, so they can also be recognized for their efforts, for the work they did in the ecosystem, and the different ways they contribute.
Great point, Aleksa. Just wanted to add on one more thing, or kind of quiz you on that. What do you think is AI's role in all this? What you mentioned about sieving through between farmers to contributors, and also perhaps how can it contribute to the point that you mentioned about decentralized governance? Yeah, how do you see AI fits into this points that you've mentioned?
I think AI has a very important role because it allows us to track user behavior across the ecosystem, and it saves us time, that's for sure. And it really helps us analyze and look for the behaviors that, like, look for specific behaviors and understand what is, what people like or even like doing in the ecosystem, how they behave, and then based on that, so like, further, like refine what your ecosystem is and what your community is, because after all, yes, you're building an ecosystem, you're building this amazing tech, but if you don't have a community and if you're not building it for the community, you don't really have anything.
Yeah, that's a good point. Always like to remember I can't remember whose wise words were it, but no matter how great the tech is, if nobody uses it or nobody uses it, if nobody uses it, that's one thing. But if people use it in the wrong way, you're gonna have a nuclear bomb, right? So yeah.
Yeah, an AI is a tool, right? So it just really depends on how you use it and whether you know how to use it. I remember, when ChatGPT appeared, oh, AI is going to kill us, right? Like, and ChatGPT is going to take our jobs, going to take our lives. No, if you know how to use it, if you make it into a tool, like you can grow yourself, you don't have to be necessarily replaced. Usually, you can be replaced if you don't know how to use it.
Okay. All right. Thanks, Aleksa. We'll get back to you in a short while. Stefan, you've seen many projects. You've helped many projects. You help many projects go to market. You mentioned that you are working on building out the token economics, building out points system, reward system. What does identity? What do you think? What does identity look like to you? And how does it? After you've seen all those projects, like, how do you think it's best to go about it in terms of the go-to-market strategy? For new projects, they're just trying to figure out this space to be able to sieve through bots, symbols, and really to get to the end goal and the end user of users that will actually use the product and the service of what the projects have been working on. What are your thoughts on that, Stefan?
Yeah. Well, maybe taking a step back, I think when talking about identity, Alex actually gave a really good response, but I think there's an additional layer. We have identity one as part of just filtering out Sybil, right? Making sure we don't have bots, making sure we have real humans, but hopefully we don't have bots, but people can still have multiple accounts, so it would still be a Sybil, right? So you could still have multiple identities. I have multiple Twitter accounts, for example, a few of them anonymous, but that would still be considered a Sybil, but still multiple identities, right? So I think that's actually one point to not neglect, that maybe in one video game I won't be one persona or I won't be anonymous in one ecosystem, but I want to be known on LinkedIn potentially, right? And that is one part. I think that is just the part we interact. Like if we interact with a project, if we interact with a layer one, that is the part where we just want to make sure it's a real human interacting. And from like a token point system side, we want to make sure we reward real users, not bots in the end, right? But then there's an additional layer to it where it comes to a more financial aspect. Let's say one is building up reputation, like the likes of like LinkedIn, but that can still be me being anonymous, contributing to a DAO for multiple years, and then being recognized for the work I'm doing there. But let's say we're taking this to like another aspect of like trading perps or taking out a loan, a credit, building financial products or linking it to the real world. We actually want to figure out a way that we can learn about someone's identity in a way that maybe there's a ZK KYC, right? That potentially that person can be KYC'd and we know it's a real person, like a real human in the end. And that this person cannot have multiple identities, that he cannot take a loan on himself and basically game the system. So there we also want to make sure that while people can have multiple identities, like I can have multiple Twitter accounts or multiple wallets, and each can contribute and qualify for Ethereum airdrop or ENS airdrop back in the day, right? Because I actually interacted with the project, I contributed, but then in the end, when it comes to like, you don't want to have like the ability to take a loan with yourself and game the system. You also need to make sure that for specific projects, these identity are merged and linked to the real world. And I think that's also an important aspect to consider, that there's an anonymous part to it, and then there's a part where we have to link it to the real world. And for the projects, it's always like a role, right? When it comes to tokenomics, what they actually want to reward. Do they want to reward just on-chain activity, or do they want to and that can be multiple people have the multiple accounts. This could even be a bot contributing to real activity, right? There could also be like a AI in a maybe very philosophical way can have an identity in itself and trade and participate in a project, maybe somewhat funded that AI with some capital in the beginning, but hypothetically the role of AI you asked earlier, right, could also have its own identity and contribute to projects. But it's really then like a philosophical question for founders of what they want to reward. Do they want to reward just like on-chain activity? Do they want to reward one person contributing and making sure it's really just one person? Or what is the end goal? And it's oftentimes quite difficult to do that. But for us, when working with projects, that's one element to also understand of like, what is actually the end goal? Like, do we want to make sure there's one human and this one human can just have one account, or do we care about other things?
That's a very... Oh, sorry. Go ahead, Aleksa.
Yeah, I was just like, I think like that really depends on what you're looking to do, and what do you want to get out of like implementing like some sort of like proof of identity. I think for probably from the ecosystem perspective, you want to enable different communities within and to build governance that is tailored towards those communities, because governance for devs cannot really apply to governance of creators, and generally devs are not really like just about anyone to be deciding what they're gonna do or not do. So I think like really understanding who you have and who is your target audience, either for a project or for ecosystem, and based on that, design the community you want to have and how the identity of that community is seen. In our case, that would be gamer. Like one of the personas that we're looking at is a gamer persona, right? But we consider like the technology and the fact that we can process 1 million transactions in a second. We can like the chain can just do so much. But the fact is that it might not, like the current state of Web3 gaming might not have really much of a market effect, but definitely when it comes to Web2, it does have. And you can basically build out like a full back end that is blockchain and the whole front end that is basically Web2, right? Like, and the kind of like the gamer doesn't even know that it's actually everything is happening on chain. And like we'll be designing our gamer persona based on that, because that's the way how we can onboard a lot wider audience than just like really going towards very like a crypto Twitter region type of gamers. So I would say like it really depends on the business goals, the ecosystem, long-term and short-term goals, how you can like design and create that community persona.
Okay, I do have one point on Stefan, but I want to comment on what Aleksa mentioned just right before I go to Stefan. You mentioned back end for game on chain. Chunked. Now let's talk a little bit about Chunked. Chunked went viral. Share some numbers of Chunked and tell the audience. So Chunked was the backend was entirely built on Somnia, right?
Yeah. So each and every move in Chunked is on chain. So there is not like one single component that is off chain when it comes to Chunks. And in terms of some of the numbers, in 5 days we had 250 million transactions. It was insane. Like, so Chunked is literally it reminds a lot of Minecraft, and everything on chain. and like the community went wild because we had some sort of like, you know, quests, you know, you need to mine, you need to combine, you had recipes, and then you get diamonds, and it just like, it was very like a very gamified experience. And the community literally destroyed Chunked version 1, so we had to close it down, and we are currently working on version 2. I have a few Somniacs in the crowd, so I can like our partner will kill us if I drop any alphas, but it's coming very, very soon. Like a lot bigger world, a lot more difficult to actually destroy. So I think like it will offer, and we're working on some additional experiences. So I think it's going to be very, very interesting to experience. Basically, everything happens on chain. There is not single off-chain movement of Chunked.
So Aleksa, Stefan, I haven't forgotten you. Let me just ask one more question for Aleksa. So Aleksa, could you share with the audience the significance of this milestone and what it means to the gaming industry in general?
In terms of like Chunked, to be like from the conversations of the team, I don't think there is like another fully on-chain game with the experience that Chunked offers, and 250 million transactions in actually like less than 5 days. Like the chain did not crash, not any seconds, and we are still in testnet. And at the time we were in testnet less than 2 months. So it was an insane stress test of the chain. And before that, we of course like tested it, and we connected I think around like 150 bots, like just destroying Chunked and nothing. You know, Shannon was kind of like sleeping. Sorry, Shannon is the name of our testnet. And then we tested it with our community, and we were like, okay, fingers crossed, like, you know, everyone knows it's tested, but not in any point did chain break. But the funny thing is, for example, we did a quest, like a 1 billion quest for the weekend. We managed to do over 13 million transactions in 2 days or less. And a chain did not break, but apps did. So some of apps had to literally shut down their websites, like under maintenance, and we'll be back soon. So the volume is generally insane, and that what, for example, sets Somnia chain a lot, apart from the others.
Oh, great. Okay, thanks, Aleksa. I'm gonna let you rest for a little while. Come back to you in a bit. Stefan,
Awesome. Thank you, Aleksa.
Stefan, you mentioned a very interesting point on blockchains and having AI actually transacting through the blockchains. Do you think that there will come a point whereby there will actually be a blockchain that only has AI agents transacting inside? What do you think that would look like, in your opinion?
Good question. Probably answer yes. But then again, like how to exclude, like where do you draw the barrier? How do you just like identify that someone is not an agent, right? I can like try to pose as an AI agent. I can just run an app. I think it's a very fine line to draw, but I still think like it's something that's probably feasible. I would not know for which use case at this point. Because I think it's getting really interesting only once you like get out into the full world, right, and explore opportunities of financial markets, perp dexes, where I think there's a lot of potential. But yeah, I think everything is feasible, so I would never say never. But out of my head, I wouldn't know for what I would use it.
I mean, just you mentioning that point got my mind thinking. Like, Are we getting closer and closer to the Matrix? I don't know, man.
Like AI and blockchain, when you look at it, it's a perfect combo, especially in DeFi. I think like once one verify an AI and like use cases of the crossover of AI DeFi is just, I think it's limitless. Currently, we have few projects in the ecosystem. We have a tomato. I simplify explaining it as saying it's a Web3 Zapier for trading. So you can basically set triggers, and you, of course, like it requires integration with DeFi protocols. You set certain triggers, and then the AI agent executes on your behalf. It goes as far as sending you a Twitter notification, Telegram notification, Slack notification. So you, for example, set certain position and AI, like the AI agent warns you if you're going to be liquidated, so many things like that. So I think like unbelievable products are built. Then we have another project, which is Doxxed, and they are also building an AI agent. Kind of like, it might be a sensitive kind of like visually currently in kind of like current kind of society setup, to put it that way. But I think it's extremely entertaining and attention catching. It's called Haifu. It's basically an AI agent for trading. And, I think they advertise it as, the vibe, a vibe that's never gonna empty your pockets and things like that. So you can, so it's an AI agent that helps you kind of like do better trading. And again, it has the functionalities of, sending notifications, executing certain things on your behalf. Well, you get a pop-up on your phone and you just click yes or no. Basically, the AI agent does it for you. So there is a lot of simplification in that sense. And I think it will also allow like a better entrance point, because currently, you really need to understand you really need to understand where you are, like how to trade, like not to lose a lot of money. You're gonna lose anyways, but be careful not to lose a lot. And I think like these AI agents will allow people to trade more safely, because you can literally give specific triggers, specific instructions, and have the AI executed on your behalf.
Yeah, trading without the emotions, right? That's what's. So Aleksa, you mentioned Tomato and Dex. Can you just let our audience know where can they find these? Is it on Somnia Ecosystem?
Yeah, so it's Automato XYZ and Haifu. I'm not sure what exactly is it's a very attention grabbing like design branding, so it's gonna be easily recognized. But yeah, I think like AI has incredible application with blockchain, and I'm just like honestly so excited about AI in general when it comes to Web3, because it offers, it's just like, blockchain in general is limitless, AI pushes those limits, those no limits basically, and I love it.
Great. All right, Jeff, on to you. Next segment, please.
All right, thank you for sharing on the tomato part, Aleksa. I think since we are in the current of the InfoFi era, I just wanna your thoughts on the InfoFi of the Kaito stuff, on the cookies, and then I think we got a new one called World Chain, if I'm not wrong. I just want to say, what do you guys think about the thing of attention, mindshare, and versus retention? How can we keep up on that? If we get the attention, can we defend the retention that we get from the users? What do you guys think? I think Stefan, you have a lot of experience in managing project. What do you think of this type of thing?
I actually think Kaito is an amazing project. I think generally, like, to democratize these things is an amazing way. I think we all know that the model of KOLs is absolutely abysmal. And dealing with KOLs is a huge nightmare for everyone. So I think the likes of Kaito are really, really changing the games. I think it's fair, right? Like, crypto has a very, very short attention span for everything. To really just care about the mindshare at the moment and reward, contributors for that is a great thing. I think long term, still all of this is less relevant. The more important thing is like people building strong projects, right? I think with Somnia, we see like having strong projects that people end up using, that people get excited about, and they get excited about the usage. I think that's still the more important part, but I do like this trend. Same with like the likes of Echo, right? Of like allowing like community to get involved, moving back to this like ICO era that we had. And I think with Cookie, with Kaito, very similar. Take away this centralized power that has been created over the years in KOLs and centralized exchanges in so many parts of crypto, right? But yeah, so very long answer for saying it's great.
Yeah, thank you for the great takes, Stefan. I think you're saying about the KOLs thing. I think I'm very much agree on you on that. And also, lots of KOL against agency kind of suffer on this InfoFi era too. But I just want to say that what some things negative on the InfoFi is, I think everyone is becoming a walking billboard. I think I just want to ask Aleksa, since you guys are working with official with Kaito, what do you guys think about the thing of the walking billboard things? How do you guys differentiate the retention, and choose the real community behind on that?
Do we have any Kaito in the audience? To be careful what to speaking.
Can you hear me?
So I generally fan of Kaito. I think it definitely bringing a different angle to blockchain in general, to Web3 in general, to the community in general. However, I am not 100% on board with it because there is a lot of, there are many unknowns, right? So we don't know how a Kaito algo works, right? So how do you actually, what are the things that you need to do to rank on the leaderboard? So it's usually around posting and whatnot. But the fact is also, we had cases in the community when, someone went to bed being at 50th spot. The next morning, they're not even in top 100. And I'm like, that's a bit weird, right? So I was personally in Kaito jail for a while. I don't know why. And, and there are people who post 3-4 times a day, and they're really high up on the Kaito board. And some of the elements that impact that, of course, is the number of smart followers. And then generally the reach, right? So how big of a reach you have on Twitter in general, which in a way does make sense. But again, I don't think it's very fair. It's not, I don't think it's very fair because if you're a KOL, if you have built your audience and if you have built that reach, in a way the smaller creators do not really have, don't stand much chance. And on the other hand as well, getting a Kaito, it is not, you just kind of hey, we really think Kaito is cool, let's get on. There is quite a bit of a financial investment involved. And with that, what happens is, again, only projects that actually have funding can get on there and can be seen, which, again, creates a very selected group of projects that can actually gain visibility if Kaito and something such as unify is the metric for projects. You know, on one side does make sense. On the other, it's not very clear. It's not really what Web3 is about, at least not from my understanding of the ethos when I first joined. So I guess it really depends on what you're looking at and what you really want to get. As a short term tactic, yes, definitely pays off. Long term is not really something that makes sense, to be honest. And I think the point of retention is, okay, so you build a community of yappers, yap, fantastic. Okay, so what do you do then, right? So are you just bye? No, you're not, right? So because, thanks to that community, you are where you are. So there needs to be some sort of conversion point where you are okay, so, from yappers, you're leveling up to something else. And I think that's something that is very important, and does the Kaito and platforms definitely play a role, but they do definitely hoping want to become standard and overall a metric for how to measure projects' success, because it's simply not acceptable to everyone.
Awesome. Thank you for that, Aleksa, on the takes for the Kaito. I think Kaito still there's a lot of improvement to be made on. I think I saw one of the Somnia team, which is, I think if I'm not wrong, is got rated. Even him with a lots of yap, even a lots of things, he even didn't can't make it on the top 100 leaderboard, which is kind of funny, And then I just want to ask one last question before we go to the part 2. What the futures look like, and how about the future of identity, and how can we solve it? What do you think on that, Stefan and Aleksa?
Okay, so I think answering the second part of your question, I'm not sure if there's really something to solve. I think we're already in a world where we can tie your real world identity in some form of KYC to an account if you want to use it. There's a way to prove your human right, with the likes of For You, Humanity Protocol. There's a lot of projects out there that help you. So I think on that side, there's nothing really much to solve. I think the future of identity is just going to explode and grow even further, right? There's a lot of possibilities of what you can do with different online identities and offline identities. And I think these possibilities will just continuously increase. But I don't think there's just say something to solve.
So we don't know yet, right? What about you, Aleksa?
I think identities play a very significant role in the future of Web3 in general, because of the reasons I've explained before. Governance, Web3 is not a small place, right? So the community has grown immensely, and the governance and generally approach to how to govern for those communities to self-govern as much as possible is definitely through identity and community identity. And sorry, what was the second part of the question?
And how do we solve it on the identity crisis part?
Well, I think first of all, stop hating on it. And I think that could be a good first step. I think I think generally kind of is the whole KYC element, right? So someone's gonna have my identity, someone's gonna have my personal data. I mean, your Google has bunch of your data just because you use Google Maps. Probably some other you want to hide than just submitting your photo. So I think it's really finding some sort of a bridge between traditional KYC and the kind of the Web3 chain-based identity, and then really understand how to structure the on-chain identity and tailor it towards what you want to achieve.
Yeah, thank you,
Yeah.
Alexa, for I think next time is I think Kai. Let's go out for the
Yeah.
wrap up.
Yeah, thanks,
For the next
Jeff.
part.
Thanks,
Yeah.
Stefan. And thanks, Alexa. I was just thinking about one thing, building a project, I would compare it to my favorite restaurant kind of thing. So there's this one restaurant that I always love to go to. They sell noodles. I don't really know bak mi or things like that. When it first started off, the noodles kind of sucked, but they did a very good job in marketing. When I first went there, it was hyped and stuff like that. I went there, I ate it, but what I liked about them and why it became my favorite restaurant after that was I told them the things that I didn't like. And the next time that I went there and I tried the noodles again, it actually tasted different, right? It actually improved and it got better and better and better and better. Unlike some restaurants that we go to, that initially the food quality is like super good and then after that it kind of goes down the drain like that. I think projects are similar to that. Attention versus retention, right? The projects that really succeed are those that actually listen to the feedback of the community and actually improve it. Like, oh, I need this, I need that, and build the things out to kind of fit what the community wants. Because we cannot forget that whatever that we are building now is for a purpose, is for a reason, either it be it for AI agents or be it for gamers or for yappers. There always is a purpose. I don't know if I went and beat around the bush, but yeah, that's something that I was just it popped in my head when I was hearing you guys talking about the things that you were mentioning just now. Okay, so time is almost up. Quick wrap up. Maybe we'll go with Aleksa first, because ladies first, and then Stefan. Maybe share with us anything interesting or any alpha that you are seeing. Maybe Aleksa, I don't know whether you can share or not. Or you know of, that you can drop perhaps. I don't know. Or okay, or maybe like anything that you expect to see in the near future. Let's say by 2020, end of 2025.
But like, to be honest, on a weekly basis, we do so many things at the end of 2025. It's just crazy. I think there'll be some certain events that the community is looking forward to by the end of 2025. In terms of like what's coming, earlier I said tomorrow, but today is actually Tuesday. So I have a few community members here, like Kobe locally, Ezzy, Elia, Tasmania. So watch out for Somnia Eco. Something really, really cool is dropping on Thursday, and something very, very exciting. And then from then we will be dropping some very exciting projects, partnerships, and deployment and testnet. And we will actually continue doing a lot of chain stress testing. Well, we'll be basically preparing apps for mainnet one day. And in terms of kind of like long term, we have a lot of partnerships already signed that we'll be announcing, and we'll be adding unbelievable things to the ecosystem and to the community. So yeah, I'm really looking forward to sharing that with the community. And I see Wobbly is trying to get me to say some specifics, but I will not. But yeah, definitely incredible things coming to Somnia. And for you, will definitely play a very, very important role in that. And we're very much looking forward to that. And I hope to see for you community as well.
Thank you, Aleksa. Thank you for not spilling the tea. On to you.
You see, they're trying.
In the chat, they are trying to let you talk.
What about you, Stefan? What are you looking forward to? What keeps you excited? What do you think we should be looking forward to?
Yeah. So I think in terms of alpha, I can recommend everyone to check out our website. There's a lot of cool projects actually we're working with. But the things that I really am looking into right now are
Can you drop the link to the website, please?
it's amagi.digital.
Let me help you. Let me help. You can continue, Stefan.
Thanks,
It's
man.
okay.
Thanks.
No worries,
But there's
no
three
worries.
things that I'm looking to that really excite me. We talk a lot about AI, and I feel like this conversation is always like big data analytics has been around for a long time. But I think what really has not been talked about, which I'm really looking into right now, is like robotics actually, like how robotics and crypto can work together with AI maybe being an element of it. But I think that's one component that a lot of people have not really paid attention to so far. The second one is the democratization of things like the likes of Kaito, Echo, and I think there's a lot more things that can be democratized. So I'm also looking around like what are like interesting things where we give power back to the community or to creators and take it away from big players. And the third one is on the fintech DeFi type of sites. For example, we all know perps, right? We all know there's also equivalents on like equity equivalents on the blockchain. But now bringing equity perps on the blockchain is a huge hassle because equity markets don't trade 24/7. You can't use a normal oracle. Like thinking about like traditional financial elements and bringing them onto the blockchain, I think we're reaching a point of the infrastructure right now where a lot of these become possible. And I think that's the third part where I'm really looking into. So yeah, robotics, evolution of traditional or mergings of DeFi and TradFi, and then the democratization of everything. I think that's the three things really that keep me up at night. Yeah.
Cool. That is super interesting, Stefan.
So guys, I sorry to chime in. I just dropped out the link in the chat. You guys can check out Amagi.digital. Is their Stefan website. So you guys could check out on that.
All right. So once again,
thanks, sir.
big thanks to Aleksa and Stefan for hanging out with us today. You both shared really amazing insights, thoughts. I hope you guys don't fault me for my crazy questions. And I hope the session has been as useful to us as it has been to you. Just a shameless plug. For You AI is now getting to 300k followers on X, and we want to celebrate with all of you, our community members. Once we hit that milestone, we're going to throw a special live stream joined by all of the brains behind the vision. And when we just talk, we're lining up massive giveaways sponsored by our partners to celebrate with all of you. So if you have not already, smash that follow button. Go follow us now. Do tell your friends because big things are happening. And we will make sure that we listen to our community and we don't judge, of course, no. And we also build things that you guys need and you guys want. So yeah, once again, this is Kai.
This is Orpheus. Thank you for coming, guys. Let's signing off.
Bye-bye.
Bye-bye. Thank you, Aleksa. Thank you,
Thank you.
Stefan, everyone. Bye-bye.
Thanks for having us.
Thank you for coming too.